afternoon and welcome to Countdown to Daytona. I'm Dan Lucas.
And I'm Kevin Connolly. Boy, Dan, you can feel the energy here in the infield of the Daytona International Speedway. We are just a few hours away from the 62nd running of the Daytona 500.
We are situated here in the fan zone. You got all the families going on around us here. They got concerts playing as we speak. We are between garages, and it's collective, organized chaos is the way I like to put it. And you know the Daytona 500 is here when you see the amount of people, thousands that are around us today. What a fun day. And I want to bring our guest in right away because you don't get this in other sports. We didn't get Patrick Mahomes a couple hours before the Super Bowl. We got Brendan Gaughan here, the driver of the 62 Beard Motorsports Chevrolet, driving in his last Daytona 500. This is an honor, Brendan.
The honor is mine, gentlemen. I appreciate you having me this morning, this afternoon. And you said it right, energy. Can you just feel like, I mean, as being in it, we get feeling, but you just look at the people, the kids jumping on the trampoline, and there's just so much energy right now around this place, and that energy builds till it gets on the racetrack, and then you have the same energy in that pack. So I'm honored to be here with you. It's exciting right now. The president coming today has also another electrified energy coming with it. So we're going through Secret Service entrances to get in. You know, we're getting pat downs. It is absolutely awesome what's going on at Daytona right now, and honored to say that I'm here, and honored to still be doing it.
That's awesome. You know, you were one of the few drivers in the field for the Daytona 500 that ran the last time a president was here in 2004 when George Bush was here. Now President Trump is here. Compare the differences for you.
Well, in 04, I like to say the presidents came for me. I was a rookie in 2004, and President Bush came, and this is my last, and President Trump had to be here for me. So I'm taking claim for it. No, it's a massive difference. You know, when President Bush showed up, I was a rookie. So I knew I wasn't going to get anywhere near the president as far as the drivers that were going to be able to see him. You know, I mean, you knew that rookies, get your butts in the back. You know, so I mean, this year, you know, already been told, you know, where we're going to kind of be, and I'm going to be I get to be a little closer. I get to, you know, be part of it. And then, you know, technology in the world has changed so much. I mean, we definitely did not have to go through this to get into the garage in 2004. Just to get into our workplace, we've got to get going through lines and Secret Service scanners, and so it definitely is a unique workplace today. Not that it's always not crazy enough. Add this to it, and it just makes it even more amazing. And pretty soon here, I heard a rumor we might be getting a buzz the tower here in about an hour or so.
Okay, very nice. Yeah, it will be. It's always the airport is situated. If you've never been to Daytona International Speedway,
the racetrack is the airport.
It's on the other side of the backstretch. So when a plane takes off, it's as loud as the cars. And Air Force One will literally be right next to the speedway. All right, Brendan, we know you're very active in fantasy NASCAR and a lot of sports betting that's related to and different from fantasy goes into this sport. Fans have a rooting interest for various reasons. We're going to put up a graphic of the 4 favorites in the race today, and if they all get knocked out, I expect you to come right up and have another conversation with me in Victory Lanes. But I'm telling you.
I don't know where you're getting your odds from, so I can't tell you what order, but I mean, I know that.
Predict, what are our 4?
Well, I know that Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano have been 3 of the favorites on most betting sites right now. What's really been fun is watching. I started at 200 to 1, and I know at 3 different sites I was down to 35 to 1 on a couple. So I've been a large mover. I talked to the guys from Roto Grinders today. Fantasy wise, right now I'm the number 1. I'm the highest picked driver in fantasy on DraftKings at the moment. So
there's Brendan Gaughan movement going on today.
Apparently,
some late action.
Some early and late action going on me. So hopefully I can make those guys, you know, a little bit make them happy this afternoon, because we're starting 39th, but that's because we were locked in on Sunday. So for the fantasy aspect, where a lot of those fantasy leagues make it where the number of places you pick up in the race. So in the duels, I knew I was locked in. I was not worried about racing well.
Around in the duels.
That's right. My little race team only has 1 Chevrolet. I have 2. I have a 2019 in the trailer, and I have a 2020 on the racetrack. I have 1 employee. Which one do you think he spent more time on?
Yeah, exactly.
So, which beard oil Chevy do you think I want to race today?
Right, that's right.
The one that he spent the last 4 months fluffing and buffing, or the one that he spent an hour putting together real quick so I had a backup car?
Right.
So I played discretion and valor, and I did all discretion in the duel. So starting 39th, but our Chevrolet, let me tell you something. We've got a rocket ship, and the fantasy bettors know it, and they're jumping all over it.
You know, the thing with restrictor plate racing, it really doesn't matter where you start.
No.
You can get to the front very quickly in restrictor plate racing.
My team owners, I joke that they only raced these 4 races. They had never made a race till 2017 when we started working together, and I told them after we locked in qualifying that year that the duels weren't going to be fun to watch, and Mrs. Beard and Mr. Beard go, why? What's wrong? I said, because we're in the show. We didn't have a backup car that year. I had an empty hole. And he goes, I said, you know what happens when you start 39th in the Daytona 500? He goes, no, what?
You start.
You just get to the 500.
You start the Daytona 500.
Yes, exactly.
And he's like, oh. So same theory holds true still. We locked in. Our Chevrolet is really good. Once again, discretion and valor will play a part of my day today. I won't be trying to get many stage points. I don't run for the year. I don't need to go up there when those guys are racing and battling. That energy gets very negative. My chi flow gets blocked. You know, I feel that my chi is being impeded. I will impede myself out of the way and let them have their day.
Absolutely.
But at the end, the one thing the Beard Oil Chevy we've been good at the last 4 years is being there at the end.
Right.
We're always there. Don't always make it through the last wreck. But I'm always in the last wreck in the front. So the goal is to get through that last wreck and be there.
You have a knack for running at these super speedways. One of the reasons you've chosen the 4 races this year, the 2 in Daytona, the 2 in Talladega. You've had, when you look at your statistics over the years, you've led laps. You've been in contention on the super speedways. What is it about these fast tracks that obviously the folks at Beard Motorsports have put money into getting that car ready for those tracks as opposed to other stops?
This is the last great equalizer of our NASCAR world. The super speedway races, the restrictor plates, that they used to be that. Now we try to call them super speedway to be politically correct. But it's that pack is the great equalizer. And Mr. Beard doesn't just try to make money. He didn't come here trying to give me a little bit of a motor to make money on the purse. He gives me a full-blown ECR motor, and he spends the money to have Richard Childress do some of the work for us on that race car. So we come here with a race car that can win. So that's the fun part. And then the other thing is, this is more of a cerebral race. You heard Dale Sr. used to call it a chess match. We don't play checkers out there today. You have to think 3-4 moves ahead. And that, to me, plays into my style because I know when to wait. I kind of feel like I know how to judge that energy. I mean, we joke about it, but you can see it. And I judge when I want to be there, when I want to get out. And at the end, like you said, anywhere, you can be anywhere and make moves to get somewhere. You just have to know when to make them. And fortunately for me, I've been pretty good at knowing when. The bad part, once again, is just getting through the last wreck because you know that last one's going to happen. You just got to get by it.
How is it? What are the tells? What are the telltale signs when you know
when the chi gets blocked?
When I got to get out of there.
You know, there are some things that I can feel and see. One of the big things you can tell is how the snake, call it the snake. You know, each line is kind of its own animal, right? And you see how that animal is driving. When they're nice and calm, everybody's in line, nose to tail, nobody's really side drafting hard, no snaking going on, you don't get the tail whip.
Okay.
Then you start seeing maybe somebody make a 3 wide and put somebody in the middle. And that kind of makes everybody move and go, well, wait, which do I go with the middle guy?
Yeah.
What manufacturer? Is that a Chevy? Is that a Ford? Who do I go with? You know, and then you see those decisions being made, and then you see them getting made hastier and hastier, and then you see people side drafting harder, and somebody behind sticking out while a guy's side drafting, and you just see these little nuances that you go, yeah, I don't like it. And I'll call my spotter, Ronnie Lewis, and I'll say, Ronnie, last year at Talladega, I was running 6th, 40 to go, still lots of racing, and I called Ron. I said, Ronnie, get me out. And he goes, dude, you're it. I go, get me out. Waved some guys off, got myself to the back, lap and a half later, 6th through 15th, go piling up, and I'm safe. sitting there going, hey, maybe I'm not so stupid. That one worked. I'll take credit. So, you got to pay attention to those nuances, and you can see it. There are things that I look for when I say I don't want to be here anymore.
All right, we got a few minutes left with you here, Brendan, before the meetings begin for you. I know you're very heavily involved in fantasy NASCAR, and you run a show, and I know a lot of folks who are watching us right now are making their picks and trying to put teams together for the year. So kind of give us the quick tutorial on how to not be last in your league.
Well, it depends on what type of league you're doing. We can start talking about NASCAR Fantasy Live. That's called an asset allocation game. You can only use drivers 10 times in the regular season. So a day like today is a great day to not have Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, these guys that you're going to want and struggle to only pick 10 times. And then there is some numbers that show you who is better than others. Like you said, there's a lot of us that know how to be there at the end. Michael McDowell, we talked a lot about on my show today. Ryan Newman, Ty Dillon are three in particular that we talked a lot about for NASCAR Fantasy Live. Guys you don't necessarily use 10 times, but this is a great week to start them because it doesn't hurt your starts and they have great finishes.
All right, real quick, your emotions, your feelings starting your final Daytona 500.
It hasn't gotten to me yet because I'm still doing great, fun things like this. But for me, this is all gravy, guys. I didn't think I'd be here at this part of my life. I never in a million years thought I'd still be here, 44 years old, racing the Daytona 500. So for me, I'll be a little introspective. I'm going to look in that crowd and see all this and feel this energy. And I got goosebumps right now talking about it. But when it starts, it's going to be business time. So I'm going to make sure that I get my head back where it needs to be. I'm going to be all business.
Well, Brendan, you mentioned the president coming here. I believe we have a shot of the president, Air Force One, departing West Palm Beach as we speak. So it'll be up here very quickly to come to the track. It's going to be a big day. It's always a big day when the president is anywhere. So that's going to be quite a treat for everyone here at the Daytona 500. Well, Brendan, we got to let you get going here first, but we have, for those of you watching us, the defending champion, Denny Hamlin, one of your favorites today. Brendan talked about him. Karen Loftus sat down with Denny because this is a big day for him. Hasn't been done in 25 years?
Back-to-back
win at the Daytona 500. So let's hear from the defending champion coming into the race today, Denny Hamlin.
All right, Denny, this is the second time you are coming to Daytona as a defending 500 champion. JGR finishes 1, 2, 3, and then it's also on the heels just about a month from after J.D. Gibbs passed away. Can you even begin to explain the range of emotions that you guys felt that day?
Yeah, it was all over the place for sure. It was, even though that the Daytona 500s were both equal in importance to me, they were so very different in emotion. I get out of the car and, I'm hearing them in the radio saying, we did it for JD. It just reminded me that, we were just a month away from, JD's passing, and I knew that, there was a little bit of motivation for me to go out there and get it done again.
Coach Gibbs just said in his Hall of Fame speech that it was the greatest victory he and his family had ever been a part of. Is it up there for you too?
It definitely is. To hear someone that's been now in multiple Hall of Fames, to have all the accolades and championships that he has, to say that that was the most significant victory to him personally, puts it in perspective for me. It really makes me proud to be able to contribute to the success that he's had.
Can you share the story of when you were a kid and the first time that you met Coach Gibbs?
Yeah, I'll never forget. My mom always used to take me to different autograph sessions all around Virginia anytime the drivers would come into town. I wanted to go get my Super Bowl winning hat signed, which I did. And I'll never forget going through that line and shaking his hand. And at the time, I'd already caught the racing bug and fever. And I said, hey, I hope to drive for you one day.
And now here you are, driving for him. Just like you said, you spoke it to existence. Do you ever have moments where you think, from Southside Speedway to two-time Daytona 500 winner, wow, this is really, I'm living it?
Yeah, I still don't put it in perspective, to be honest with you. I feel like I'm living a dream. A lot of people say that, and I never believed it, but now I do believe it because everything has happened so quickly, even though my career's been so long. I never would have dreamed I would have made it to the Cup Series, much less won all the races and big races that I have. So I thank my lucky stars every day that I'm in the opportunity that I am and partnered with a great company like FedEx that's been with me my whole career. It's just been a great ride, and I never take anything for granted.
As countdown to Daytona continues, you're looking at a picture of Air Force One getting ready to depart West Palm Beach, bring the president here to Daytona for the 62nd running of the Daytona 500. The starting lineup is scrolling at the bottom of your screen. We do have some breaking news to talk about. Denny Hamlin, the winner last year's car, failed a pre-race inspection. He will actually start the race at the back of the field.
That's an incredible development.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And let's bring in our next guest, Zach Albert of NASCAR.com. Zach, you were one of the first ones to report this, and it wasn't just one.
Yes.
Inspection.
Failed twice there. You usually get one pass on that where you can actually, they give you some leeway on some of the pre-race scrutineering that they do.
Bring it back
Sure.
in here. Yeah,
absolutely. But twice is when they get down to ejecting a crew member, and they'll send you to the back. So certainly a pre-race favorite to repeat and vie for his third Daytona 500 victory. I think he'll still be in that mix, but this will definitely put them in a climb situation from starting at the back.
It was already going to be, an interesting first quarter to third of the race for Denny, starting in row 11, and the Gibbs cars did not practice yesterday either. So this is a bit of a mystery here around the 11.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, one of the big storylines that's been all this week leading up to this has been watching teams work together, and so you'll see teams form up really along those team alliances, but also manufacturer alliances. You'll see the Toyotas work together, potentially teaming up with some Chevys, because the Fords have been always perennially so strong at this type of racing. So I think you'll see a lot of manufacturers alignment, which has been really the story of the whole week, and I think you'll see that again today.
At the super speedways, not where you start not necessarily is as important as other tracks.
True.
But with the energy, it's the first race of the season. Sometimes guys can make mistakes early.
Oh, sure.
So being in the back of the field, Denny Hamlin has used this strategy before where he has stayed way back anyway.
True.
So now he's kind of forced into that strategy.
Yeah, and he's been excellent at that. And I think this race, typically with as long as it is and as intense as it can be, I think it really rewards the more patient drivers, right, and people who you have to have a little bit of luck on your side too, because they're so, we saw this all week just with how aggressive the blocking was, and people trying to keep people's momentum at bay and to try to control the race. And with this rules package the way we've got it, it's really hard to do that. And so there's been, the last week, we had the Busch Clash and the crashes that really decimated the field. I mean, it was a lot. So I think you'll see hopefully a little more patient race, and I think the person that'll come out on top is going to be the one who can have some luck, but also really be patient and bide their time and be there at the end.
Have we gotten to the point on these big super speedways, the restrictor plate races, where you want to be in the front when it comes down to the end, in case that caution comes out for obvious reasons, but as we've heard this week, you want to be in that train somewhere where if they can't get a good block, they have they're just not going to withstand the push. But where is the safest spot when they're coming down to the end here?
It's really tough because you would think being in the lead would be the most advantageous spot, but a lot of times if you can get somebody who is a great pusher, if you can have a car that two cars that really work well together and can kind of lean on each other and have the right handling where they can kind of sustain that, I think those are the type of situations where two cars working together can really go towards the front. So maybe being first when that white flag comes out, maybe not the most advantageous spot. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. And I think the last lap is just no holds barred.
I think in the Clash race, Denny Hamlin's a lap down.
Yeah.
And Eric Jones was in that position, as Zach is saying. I mean, what better guy to push you than a car that, Denny Hamlin, which, by the way, remember at the finish how Denny kind of pulled up a little bit on the side?
Sure, yep.
Hey, young man, just to let you know, I still have a pretty good car here.
The thing is, with the start of the season, everybody's thirsty for information about their favorite driver. Tell us some of maybe the new things that are on NASCAR.com for this year.
Yep, well, we've center product and definitely have a lot that will give you scanner information, all sorts of different things. Game is back again, so get a little interaction with. So stay tuned for all kinds of things that we're developing through the year. We've really done a good job. Get more robust information. I think a lot of people are really hungry for as they can. We have to give it to them. It's all a matter of trying to package it the right way and deliver it and everything like that. And so if you're looking for numbers in terms of help setting your up daily fantasy, we want to be your home for it. And so that's what we're really working for. But to your point also, it's time to season and to do it on our grandest stage and in the Daytona 500. I realize we have it backwards from a lot of more traditional sports who build up to that major prestigious race or event or game, whichever it is. But it's interesting. We do things a little bit differently here, but it's always a great way to kick things off.
Well, we just have our ticker on the bottom, if you're watching us, reflects that change regarding Denny Hamlin, who goes from row 11 to, technically behind row 21. We've created a row 21 here in the Daytona 500. We've had a graphic up for a couple of days, and Vegas Insider, we just selected that book at 10-1 odds because they had 4 co-favorites, and they're kind of the obvious names, the Keselowski, Logano, Hamlin, and Kyle Busch. Is this track too much of a crapshoot, I guess I use that word, to even list favorites in this race? Because there's some interesting names right behind him. 25-1, I believe, Stenhouse. Eric Almirola, who's run well here, 25-1.
Yep.
There's just so much unknown going into this.
It's really hard to pick a favorite, and so many things. The nature of racing here is so fickle in terms of who the fates smile on. From one Daytona 500 to the next. If you look at a guy, say Brad Keselowski, who is one of the best at this discipline in terms of super speedway racing, and he's over, I believe it's 14-15, over his career in trying to get it. He's won so many races at Talladega. He's won the July race here, but the Daytona 500, for whatever reason, as good as he's been on these type of tracks, has eluded him. And so it's really hard to pick favorites. There are so many years where I thought he was like, oh, well, this is his year to win it. And you just can't bet the bank on that. It's hard to count on. The race winner is going to have a strong car, but they're going to have some things kind of fall their way, go their way, and execute. And any kind of mistake will bite you.
We just had a quick shot of Air Force One taking off. It's airborne.
Yeah, that's right.
This is our flight tracker edition of Countdown to Daytona, by the way. So the president is en route to the Speedway as we speak.
We've talked about it a little bit. How has the fantasy aspect, that in the popularity that the fantasy world has how has that helped NASCAR? How much traction have you seen that, give your site, but give the sport in general?
Yeah, quite a bit, actually. I think, if you look at, how fantasy football has kind of transformed how people watch the NFL. There are, now you have a rooting interest where you might not have. And so I think the same holds for us as well in this sport. There's a lot of, people have their favorite drivers, but now you also have a fleet of them if you're selecting a team of 5 that you can pay attention to and track how they're doing in real time. And I think it's really kind of raised the interaction level and let people participate on a little more personal basis. And it's been interesting to watch, and I think it lets people kind of be their own number cruncher and kind of dig into those stats and feel like experts on race day. So the way my fantasy lineup has gone from year to year, I mean, it has been, I can't say that I'm an expert by any means, but it's been interesting to watch people and kind of employ those strategies and watch that play out from Sunday to Sunday.
Are you allowed to pick a driver, or can you speculate on who you have a hunch may win today?
A hunch on who wins. So no rooting interest, no cheering in the press box.
Correct. Yes,
right.
correct.
Always.
Yes.
Yeah. I have thought that here again, Brad Keselowski, I mean, just how many times it's been his year.
Right.
I think that he probably brings it home today if we're looking at somebody who hasn't won. If you look at somebody who has won, we kind of did this on our website to kind of dig in, like among the people who have won, I think Hamlin is as strong as any in terms of somebody who is going to potentially be there at the end, and I don't think starting at the back is necessarily going to hurt him. So I think those are two people I've got my eye on definitely for sure as 500 miles play out.
Interesting thoughts here from Zach. I like that.
We have NASCAR.com. It is well worth your time.
It is. You read his work on NASCAR.com all year long, all during the off season, but mostly today. It's a big day for the sport. All right, we're going to put up our picks on the screen now. JB Buno, our host from Wednesday's Media Day, he's going sentimental on us here, Kevin. He's going Jimmy Johnson today. So if Jimmy Johnson wins, not only will this place be crying tears of joy and happiness, JB will be crying as well for Jimmy Johnson. And of course, I picked Joey Logano yesterday, and I love your pick, though.
I've gone with Eric Almirola.
I think,
I've had an opportunity to speak with him a couple of times in the last, 6 to 8 months, and he has settled in at that team at Stewart-Haas. He was so close 2 years ago. He had the incident with Austin Dillon there right at the end. The Stewart-Haas cars have been fantastic. I think it's his time. I think it's his turn.
In the end, Zach, there's guys who just run well here.
True.
And as long as they don't get caught up, they're contenders.
And he's a very solid, stealthy pick, I would say. Eric Almirola is. He's won at Talladega before, and he's won here before in one of the July race, 14, I believe it was when he did. But definitely, it's interesting. You always have some surprises that come up, and one of them was the guy that was sitting in the seat just before Brendan Gaughan. It's interesting how this race will really reward an underdog, and so you're talking about favorites. You can almost throw the book out in some ways, especially when it gets down to the white flag, because every man for himself, and there will definitely be some surprises that show up at top 5, top 10 tonight.
Excellent. Well, Zach, this has been wonderful. Thank you very much for your time today. I know you got a lot going on, so we appreciate your time. Kevin, final thoughts? We're getting ready to race here, man.
Yeah, you know what, though? I mean, we've been here for almost a week now, and we've done a whole lot of talking. Let's do some racing.
Yeah, I agree. And there's a smell of hamburgers in the air. Pretty soon there's going to be a smell of gasoline in the air, and I'm just ready to have some fun. We hope you guys have had a lot of fun watching us all week. We've had a bunch of great guests here. We finished strong. Brendan Gaughan, who's getting ready to line up in the 62nd Daytona 500, his final Daytona 500. And Zach Albert from NASCAR.com finishing us off. And 2:30, right? 2:30?
That's right.
Get in the cars and go around. The president's on his way here. This is going to be a fun day. Fun day for the sport.
Without a doubt. And a great way to start the sport, start the season off. I think there's a new energy surrounding NASCAR racing. I think 2020 overall is going to be a fantastic year.
It will be. All right. Well, we appreciate you watching us today. Have a great rest of the afternoon. For Zach Albert, Kevin Connolly, I'm Dan Lucas. Have a great afternoon. It's Daytona Day.